Sri Lanka, where in the face of spiraling financial upheaval, finally a finance minister has been appointed. It is the new Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe who has taken oath as the new Minister of Finance. And within 6 weeks, Wickremesinghe will be presenting an interim budget. Since the country is in the throes of an unprecedented economic crisis, the infrastructure projects are likely to be slashed in the upcoming budget. The administration is reviewing possible expenditure cuts as well across the government sector. The funds will be rerouted into a 2-year relief program for the crisis-hit country. Wickremesinghe has also warned that annual inflation could rocket past 40% in the coming weeks, and the rise could put Sri Lankan households under further pressure. According to the government data, inflation rose to a record 33.8% on year-on-year basis in April. The situation is so bad that the government has no revenue in Sri Lankan currency, and another 1 trillion Sri Lankan rupees need to be printed.
No, we know it's going to be difficult. That's why we are looking at relief, at least a 2-year relief program. There will be interim budget. We cut off all the development work and put more money in. One is to ensure that we can pay the higher interest rates, and secondly to ensure that there's more money for the affected people. But that alone won't do. So we will have to look at some help from our friends abroad, ensure there's sufficient food. We will require more rice. There's going to be a shortage of flour globally. So these are some of the issues that we will face here. Inflation can go well into the 40s. Remember, one is the price adjustments we are making. Secondly is the fact that we printed money. We have no rupee revenue, and now we have to print another trillion rupees. So you can see how inflation is will have an impact here.
Just yesterday, the government announced a sharp increase in petrol and diesel prices. Fuel prices reached a record high on Tuesday, causing further pain to the country's 22 million people. The motorists lined up for hours in queues outside the fuel stations. The shortage of foreign currency in the cash-strapped country has severely curtailed the imports of essentials, including fuel and medicines. And as the government tries to tackle the crisis, negotiations are also underway with the International Monetary Fund for a loan package. The government is hopeful of a sustainable loan package from the IMF. The government is also worried about food shortages from August onwards. Productivity has been slashed after imports of chemical fertilizers were halted last year. To shore up supplies of staples, Ranil Wickremesinghe will likely meet China's ambassador to Sri Lanka next week. He will be seeking fertilizers and medicines from Beijing. Sri Lanka is also banking on foreign aid from allies and multilateral agencies. Meanwhile, the World Bank has rejected reports claiming support for Sri Lanka in the form of new loan commitments. The World Bank has said that it has no plan to offer new financing to Sri Lanka until an adequate macroeconomic policy framework is in place. And our correspondent Dasoni Athoda has been tracking those developments on the ground. She sent us this report from Colombo. Take a look.
The World Bank today issuing a stern warning said that unless macroeconomic stability is ensured in Sri Lanka, further financial assistance will not be provided to the island nation. Now, this comes on the same day as Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe took on the reins of becoming the new finance minister here in Sri Lanka, a portfolio that will be much looked at in order to avert and overcome Sri Lanka's worsening economic crisis. Also, Premier Wickremesinghe did ensure that an interim budget will be put forward in the coming weeks in a desperate attempt to prevent the worsening economic crisis here in Sri Lanka. Reporting for WION World is One from Colombo, I'm Dasuni Athoda.
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.